Luigi Bud has been a popular modder in the SRB2 community for quite some time now, and is responsible for some well-loved mods. Of course, Tackers is their most popular work and is one that I had the opportunity to preview prior to their release. They're also responsible for a highly downloaded script that produces Pizza Tower-esque after images, although that's a little removed from my purview and so I can't comment on its quality. They're not the only successful mods Bud's responsible for, however, as they're also responsible for another mod that takes after the WARIO lands and Pizza Towers and Anthem Blasts of the world, Soap the Hedge. After my preview of Tackers, Luigi Bud actually DM'd me with a request to cover the guy, but that unfortunately fell through. His original incarnation had a lot of mechanics that did not mess with my oddball control scheme, and I therefore didn't feel like I could produce a review representative of the experience most players would have with the mod. That was all I saw of Soap for around 2 years. I moved on to other characters. Luigi Bud would occasionally post a short clip of some new experiment on my Discord, but we had ultimately gone our separate ways. That was until a few weeks ago, when I received a few emails once again asking me to revive that long dormant review. It turns out that Soap has seen a total overhaul, and after some reassurances that the old problems I once had were long gone, I downloaded him once more and began taking notes. Does Soap live up to the usual wackiness present in much of Luigi Bud's most popular works? Can I finally utilize him to his full potential? Well, there's only one way to find out, so bring on the review. In many ways, Soap reminds me greatly of Tackers, despite the radically different movesets. Both are implicitly humorous, whether that be because of bulging biceps or crazy expressions. Both place a great deal of focus on flow states and uninterrupted movement, and both are quite overpowered. If I may take a moment to promote my most recent SRB2 video, where I described 7 archetypes that most characters can be placed into, then both Soap and Tackers can be considered very powerful all-rounders due to their large move pools that allow for excellent horizontal and vertical mobility. With that said, Soap is definitely more understated than Tackers ever was. That guy was exhausting. A rapid-fire onslaught of loud sound effects, wacky faces, UI pop-ups, giant numbers, score modifiers. I enjoyed my time with him immensely, but combining that constant sensory overload with a smorgasbord of passive and active abilities made for quite the overwhelming experience. I certainly wouldn't recommend Tackers for a first-time player, put it that way. Soap doesn't ever go that far. You'll never see him pull a face like this, and the UI is never going to insult you for doing poorly. The craziest thing I've seen him pull out is some breakdancing upon completion of a level, but that's certainly not comparable. You might think that to be a good thing, you might think it to be a bad thing, but I prefer to see it as a neutral difference. A clear demarcation between the two that shows that while this is still the Luigi Bud we know and love, they are capable of producing work with appeal beyond surface level stupefaction. My strategy when playing as Soap can be boiled down to a simple quote: "How I learned to stop worrying and love the spin button." There are exceedingly few situations when playing as Soap where you shouldn't be holding down spin, and I can't think of a better mod to showcase why I chose to map jump and spin to the triggers. Holding down spin ensures that the R-dash is in constant effect, which is the move that gives you all of your speed and mobile offenses. It acts as a sort of on-demand boost mode, plowing through enemies and spikes and walls as if they were barely there, and growing faster as it's either held for longer or as you travel down slopes. Maintaining it is even possible as other abilities are used, and you really have no reason not to. The whole moveset is designed to accommodate that, after all. You can use the B-Rush from it by pressing spin in the air, or the pound in the same situation by using jump, or an uppercut using custom 1, or a slide or a lunge using custom 2, and as long as you keep holding spin as you do so, the RDAS is maintained and your momentum continues to grow. That makes Soap very fun to play, but also means that he could so easily become quite boring, as there's really no friction or pushback against the player to force them to engage with the game. Luckily, I think that's more or less been sidestepped by the impeccable focus paid to the game feel of Soap, as he is extremely satisfying to play as, due to a whole set of minor tweaks made to universal mechanics. For example, destroying enemies causes a little hit stun that really drives home the impact of the attack, and it is especially potent if you can manage to hit multiple enemies within a short time frame. I once managed to put myself into a position in a modded map where I destroyed about a dozen enemies with a single uppercut due to them walking into the attack during hit stun, and it was a sight to behold. Even if some of the aesthetical similarities have been toned down, there's still a fair bit of that Pizza Tower Anton Blast DNA left within Soap. Additionally, running into walls while using the RDAS no longer ends the effect immediately, as is the case with most boost modes. Instead, you bounce off the wall, the effect is diminished for a few seconds, but your momentum is still mostly intact. That really helps with your flow state, because the rote memorization and strict execution most boost modes require is no longer necessary. Once again, continuing to dumb Soap down in this way was a gamble, as it could have contributed to him feeling dull, but it pays off because it makes him so fun to play and really complements the flow-in, flexible, loose playstyle I think Luigi Bud was trying to incentivize. There's more minor changes like this, but they simply help to further strengthen these ideals and make Soap feel as good as possible to play. Indeed, I think it's quite telling that I really can't think of any flaws with playing as the guy. Nothing immediately springs to mind, whereas I can usually think of at least a little nitpick with even characters I really love. I reckon that's a testament to the excellent execution of what Luigi Bud set out to do, because the only thing that I think a person could find to complain about is that he's too polished and too frictionless, but as I've already repeated, I don't think that really applies here, or at least it's certainly not a problem. A fantastic gameplay experience all around, and I believe a significant improvement over what I played 2 years ago. Soap's sprite work has improved in much the same way as his gameplay has, albeit not quite to the same extent. Bear in mind that their sprites are already strong though, so that's not necessarily a failure of the updates. Like hackers before him, Soap once used the default green colour that all SRB2 characters have before their code remaps it to the intended palette, a Luigi Bud design staple at this point, but it can often come across as unintentional. He's now a beautiful shade of blue, which better fits the joke that he's a muscle-bound clone of Sonic. Although, rather strangely, those immense arms now only appear when certain abilities are triggered. I'm fairly certain that wasn't the case before, and I can't tell whether it's a joke or a glitch, but it does mean that Soap's standing sprite gives off vibes like these a lot of the time. You decide whether that's a good thing or not. I think this is all a change for the better, and while the original Soap design was unique, this incarnation is better defined as someone different from Take's. If nothing else, he can certainly bust a move. Soap, for all of the changes made from his legacy interpretation, is still very much a part of Luigi Bud's usual pedigree of wacky, overpowered all-rounders. With that said, I think those changes have helped him carve out a niche within that to help differentiate him from Take's. More restraint in the visuals and moveset might allow him to serve as a more palatable option to those who can't stomach the absurdity of the Screaming Greenie. But is that really necessary? Was there a crowd clamouring for that? The SRB2 audience seems a-okay with dealing with Takis' antics, and while I enjoyed my time with Soap quite a bit, more so than before, and I think he'd be very popular with a more typical crowd, I'm curious to see whether he comes to enjoy the same success as Luigi Bud's older work, which was a little less refined and had more abrasive, unapologetic personalities. I'd absolutely recommend you try him out, and I think most will enjoy the experience. But can I say he's better than Takis? I'm not sure that I can, or even that it's my place to say. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you to Senri TH and Glide KS for requesting this review, to Luigi Bud, Glide KS again, Saxa 2007, Greenbulb and Mott de Spork for contributing to the development of this version of Soap, and to you, the viewer, for watching up to this point. Tune in next time, but for now, ciao.